Here we go. BobCast episode 3. Sorry for a little delay there. There was something on the back end that was a little shaky, so we got that sorted out. Yes, for those of you that don't know, Tom is unable to join me today because he recently just became a father a couple days ago. So big congratulations to Tom. Sending lots of love to him. And so today we thought it'd be kind of fun to do like a little Q&A and make a track and see how our process is and all that stuff. If you like the live performance stuff, we're doing that tomorrow on the Beatport Reconnect at 2 p.m. Pacific. So we'll be doing a live set so you guys can tune in and check that out there. But today we're gonna, answer some questions, do some tech stuff, and try and make a track. So let's just get into it. And if you have any questions, I'm going to be reading the chat and just kind of like answering what pops up. This live stream stuff is new for us, so we're going to figure out what the best workflow is as we go here. All right, here we go. So I have this nice little ambient loop playing. All right, so usually there's a couple different ways that we make a track. Sometimes it's like I'll start with a piano idea, or Tom will have a song idea, and we either bring that in or we'll come into the studio and just try and make a beat from scratch. And usually I'll have like a template with like tons of stuff in it, but I feel like for today, let's just start from scratch. I think one of the most important things, and I wish somebody told me this really, really early on, is like making music is kind of like a cooking show. It's like you should have like your ingredients all ready to go. Like the process of making music is already so complicated in the sense that like it's your brain telling your hands to play something, your hands playing something, and then going into the computer. And I think like trying to limit the amount of steps that you have to take in order to make music is really important. So like having your samples ready to go, having the stuff that you want happening super quick is super important. So I have this stuff just called good kicks, and these are all good kicks that we like. And so we'll just start with that. And 118 BPM seems to be like a nice starting point, because if you can make something at 118, there's a good chance it'll probably sound good a little bit faster or a little bit slower. If you want to do the whole Nicolas Jarre thing and just bring everything down to 105, like we do that all the time. Like just test out where your music sounds good, 105, 120. But here you go. You got a kick. Yeah, we do use Ableton. I saw someone say Ableton Live. Love Ableton. In case you don't know what program that this is, I should start off by saying that. I've been using Ableton Live since Ableton 6. This is now on Ableton 10. It is such a good piece of software. I don't know how I would make music without Ableton. I'd find a way, maybe use voice memos or something like that, but Ableton rocks. So it's what we use, it's what we love, it's what we've used for a long time, and I can't speak highly of Ableton enough. All right. Oh, I saw somebody notices my Canadian accent. Yes, in case you guys didn't know, I am Canadian. Tom and I are both from Vancouver. So if you hear me say oot or about or anything like that, then just chalk it up to being Canadian. All right. So usually what we try and do is try and find some stuff for the grooves. And that's where I go into these samples. And you just start. Yeah, like that's kind of cool. Redlining's bad. You don't want that, but there's the old saying, if you ain't redlining, you ain't headlining. So maybe some people do like to see red. All right, that's cool, but it's in B, it says, but like sometimes I like working in like G. I'm just going to check this real quick and make sure that the people that were helping me out think that everything's working good. Sorry. Okay. Sweet. All right, we're good. So we're going to just transpose this down to G. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4. Yeah. All right. I have to count out the keys because I'm not Beethoven. Cool. That's cool. All right. And then usually we try to come up with like some sort of piano line or something. I'm just going to just hope the music gods are with me. And that we can get some sort of piano line going. I'm I'm also going to make an effort to not get too lost in making music, and also try and pay attention to the chat if anyone has questions. Another producer who recently started using Logic. Yeah. Oh, so now you don't know what to do. Logic or Ableton, like you really can't go wrong. Just anything, Logic or Ableton. Some people use Pro Tools. Whatever you want to do, whatever works for you. I think the best piece of advice is there's no wrong way to make music. So that's the best thing. Just figure out what works for you. All right. Let's hope the piano gods are with me. Let's see if we can turn that into something. That's not the right key. There we go. All right, let's get this. Let's loop this. So Ableton doesn't love being open with OBS at the same time, which is the streaming software. So I'm going to probably have to flatten some of this stuff because it'll glitch a bit, but it'll get fixed. So let's just lay this down. Oh, thanks for the count in, Ableton. Why is it being, sometimes it's being a little difficult, but here we go. All right, so I got to change my count in here. Why is it not doing one bar? All right, we just got to get used to that. Because I'm not started on a 1, that's why. Here we go. All right, that's it. I get fired already. Big recording studio, I'd be like, this guy, you're out of here. Cool, that'll work. Let's quantize it, which is make it sound somewhat in time, because I was just playing it badly. Let's put some reverb on that. Yeah, so those little glitches I think are just happening from OBS not really liking being open with Ableton. I could be wrong. So I'm going to just flatten this. Get that off of there. Let's see how this sounds. All right, gotta love loading screens. It's my favorite thing. The cool thing about Ableton is it just turns MIDI automatically into audio. So let's get this in there, and then we can start to look for some other stuff to fill in the groove. And then, you know, it's around this time when you start to have chords and stuff that you start to sing melodies, which is like what Tom and I are really good at working at together. Like we'll just sit in the room and start to play some chords. And then start to sing melodies, and like pretty quick. Like I would say, like a lot of our ideas, they happen quite quick. Like they don't sound the best right away, but they happen. They happen quickly. Cool. All right. happy with that. All right, so let's get some grooves in there. So I like to work, normally I work faster, but I'd like to go back into our loops and see if there's anything that we find that's like sort of inspiring. Drums. By the way, if I can give a shout out, if you guys are looking for loops for your music, there's a website called Noise. I think it's spelled noiiz.com. And they have great stuff. Great packs, sample packs, everything. Great drums. And it just makes the whole process, like especially if you're trying to get ideas out quickly, they just have great sounds. It's kind of like that website Splice, but I think Noise has a lot of stuff that is a little bit geared towards more what I like sonically. I could be wrong. I should definitely check Splice out a little bit more. But I personally, Tom and I, we both love Noise. All right, so like it'll give you something like this that's just great to write music around. I like to try to tend to fill this up, and I see that we're redlining a little bit, so I'm going to show you a little trick. We always do this when we make music. This might be considered a faux pas with like the pros of the pro, but I don't really care. There's no right or wrong way to do this. So we always put a little bit of stuff on our master channel, just to try and it kind of glues the mix together, and it kind of makes your stuff already sound finished even when it's not. So we throw the Waves L2 just to like make sure that you're not clipping, and then we also throw in this multi-band compressor. That's just the Ableton multi-band compressor, and it has this setting called multi-band compression, which just like glues everything together super nice. So as you can see, if you rewind, you'll hear before I put those on, it like probably sounded a little like farty and distorted, and now it's kind of like balanced the mix out. I could probably turn these down a little bit too, but putting some stuff on your master channel will definitely help make it sound good early on. All right, I'm just gonna check if there's questions. Any advice for learning to play piano? Sorry, I'm a little delayed on some of these. I would say, I took lessons when I was younger, and I hated it. I hated lessons. I really wish I paid attention more in hindsight, but I absolutely hated piano lessons. And so there was a point where I just realized it was the easiest way to communicate musical ideas. And so I just learned. I just self-taught sort of myself. After learning the basic chords and initial things, I started to self-teach myself after that. And it was, it's the kind of thing, if you just sit down there long enough, like, I think one of the most important things is that I find my lack of knowledge my hands stumble places that sound cool that I have no idea why. And I'm okay with not knowing why it sounds cool. I just like it that way. So I think, a little bit of knowledge is a dangerous thing, but I kind of like that danger. All right, let's get back to this for a second. All right, go back to my trusty loops. See if there's any this kind of stuff's cool. We put these sort of Tommy things in our music all the time. I'll just grab this guy, see how it sounds. let's flesh this out a bit more. Sometimes it's nice to work with stuff without hearing the chords that you're working on, just so that you can get a good idea of sort of like what the core groove is. Let's see what do I have here. Organic sequences. All right, we got melodic techno. This one's usually pretty good. It's got lots of cool beats. All right. There's also, this is cool. Melodic house. There we go. These are like some nice dusty. So like, I like to just get these in there and then mess with them later, or fully replace them. It's just to get like the ideas out quick, try to get a groove, and then you can make it more original and more unique later on. Like, I just like getting something down quick that feels good and exciting, and you can always go back and fix it, make it more original, make it more unique. Like, you know, there's certain things that are innate to our sound, which is like Tom's voice. We use a lot of guitars, we use a lot of pianos. So if something's starting to sound a bit like stock or unoriginal, like we have a few easy kind of paths that we can go down to kind of make it sound more like something that we would do naturally or that we like. And it doesn't always have to be like that. Like, we don't set rules or anything, but like there's definitely a few go-to strategies for us that are kind of like, oh, like what would Bob do, you know? And it's nice to have those avenues to walk down when you're stuck. Let's see. Fiddling with the bottom left of my screen. I think the loop browser. All right, so check this out. Sorry, I'm trying to, this is bad if you have paying attention problems, I've realized. All right, so now we got a cool little groove going. And something that is great to do is it's called sidechain compression. So I'll show you what that is. So you can make something bounce. Like if you listen. So it's kind of ducking with the kick, and it kind of creates this nice breathing motion. So like this is with it, and then without it, it's just normally like this. It's subtle, it's hard to hear, but it's the kind of thing where if you start doing that to a bunch of things on the track, it's sort of like a classic dance music trick. A lot of people will sidechain sidechain compression stuff to the kick, just to like give it a bit of breathing. Now I've done it to the pad. You can copy and paste it sort of like onto everything, and you can sort of get this really awesome. It just creates a vibe right away. So we'll hear what it sounds like on our piano. So you can hear it's kind of adding this dynamic to the piano. I think I kind of overdid it. But it just makes room for a lot of the elements in your music to kind of live. All right, so now let's keep going on this whole loop train, because it's not. I like to stack and stack and stack and almost have too much, and then it's like just a process of like getting rid of stuff. That's easier than lack of ideas. All right, we're gonna answer some questions here. Tom and I met in high school. We weren't super close friends or anything like that, but back in high school, and then we ran into each other in a parking lot in Brooklyn. Do you always fully quantize your piano? No. If I can, I'll try and get a good performance. If I'm working quick, I'll quantize it and then come back later on and just actually play it like a performance. But when we're getting ideas down, I just want them to be quick and good and hear what it sounds like, because otherwise it's just annoying if you just are concentrated on doing a good performance as opposed to just making music. What was the inspiration behind All I Want? That's a great question. We were really trying to make just good music for clubs that had great songs. And I think it's kind of like a lot of our lyrics we write about what we know, and a lot of it has always been about, you know, sort of personal struggles or desires or things that we'd like or things that we like, the things that you can't control or that you can't have. And I think, or wanting to belong or wanting to share with people. So I think all I want, and I'm only speaking for me here. Tom will probably have a different answer, because we both write lyrics and we both write the songs, and so we both come from two different places. And I think that's what's so great about working with Tom is, there's a different reason. We both have different reasons for everything. But I think it's just that ultimate feeling of like wanting to be connected to someone or something. Thoughts on Dark Side? I mean, we love Dark Side. We love Nicolas Jarre. I would love to work with Nico. I'm sure Tom would say the same thing. The guy's a genius. Back when we were first starting in Brooklyn, I mean, he like single-handedly caused the whole dance music scene to lower their BPMs by a couple beats per minute, for sure. If you were at 130, then you started making music at 125. If you were at 118, you started making music at 110. And the funny thing is like we were working on First to Cry right before the Dark Side stuff started to come out. And so we as soon as that came out, we were like, oh man, this guy's like on this whole bluesy same path thing as us. Like, it's awesome. It's weird how the world works like that sometimes. Like sometimes you'll work on something and someone else will be twiddling away at the same thing somewhere else. It's funny. There's like tons of like times throughout the course of history where two different bands from two different places end up making similar music. Am I influenced by Nine Inch Nails? Oh yeah, and Brian, oh yeah, big time. Nine Inch Nails, Downward Spiral is probably one of my favorite records of all time, and Pretty Hate Machine. I love everything Trent Reznor does because it has that cinematic quality to it, and he's just really awesome. I mean, when we moved to LA, I was worried because our music is quite melancholic. I was worried that would we lose that vibe coming to LA. So I tried to find the darkest record made in Los Angeles that I could find, and the Downward Spiral. I don't know if you can find a darker record than that. And sure enough, that's my fear was totally not true at all. You can make whatever music you want, wherever you want. So anyways, let's get back to this real quick. We were talking about the side chain compression. Sweet. All right. Let's session some more loops. Ooh, that's nice. Oh, Peter, you're asking how long have I been making music? I really started making music full on when I was around 14, 15, and I'm 30 now, so 15, 16 years. And like, I was in bands before that, but that was really when I started to get addicted and didn't stop and was annoying my parents because all they would hear is boom, 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 boom in the basement. So that's when it really started. All right. This is pretty cool. Like I said, I like to overdo it. Because you can always come back in, replace these sounds, All right, cool. That's kind of cool. So now maybe let's, it'd be nice to have like some sort of nice melody on top, like a lead line, it's like, chords and beats and stuff are cool, but you need something you could like sing or something you can hum or remember, which is why these synths are amazing. I have to give full credit to Arturia here. They make amazing replicas of vintage synthesizers, and they sound awesome. Like for example, here's a emulation of this old synthesizer that costs squillions and squillions of dollars called a Jupiter 8. And they have made an amazing version of it. They've made an amazing version of it here that you can just get in Ableton or Logic or whatever you use. So you got lead lines, super 80s. I love the 80s. Who doesn't? But for a plugin, it sounds really expensive. Was any of your songs made with the same method using the loops of the software? Yes. We've definitely, like, just to get inspiration, like I said, we've definitely used loops. And, you know, sometimes, like I said, our method will start with, like, us recording actually, like, something like a piano or something first. But some of our songs really just start the same way that I'm doing it here, just with loops, and then Tom will start singing, then we'll add stuff, strip stuff away. So I'm just kind of doing one of the methods that we'll use, which is sometimes I'll just sit in here by myself and tinker away exactly like this and come up with chords and a melody and something that's really cool. Tom will come in the next day and be like, dude, that's awesome, or dude, that really sucks, never play that for me again. And we'll start working on it, and he'll maybe sing a vocal line or come in and add some more chords or write a B section, and vice versa. Sometimes Tom brings in ideas just like I've done here, and then I put my spin on them. So it's very collaborative. All right, let's see if we can come up with a lead line. Because, sweet. This is a great reverb plugin. It's called Valhalla Vintage Verb. Instantly adds some vibe to anything you want. I'm just going to put that down. Nice little layer. Give it a little energy. All right, cool. And like our friend pointed out earlier, just going to quantize it because I played it sloppily, but who cares? We're just getting ideas out there. Oh, great question, Cindy E. Would you guys ever collab with Rufus the Soul, Odessa, Big Wild, 2 Feet, or any of those would be amazing? I mean, I've never talked about with the guys, but like I would love to make a track with our friends from Rufus. You know, John and I have done a couple DJ sets together, and like those guys are awesome. And you know, we've hit it off and obviously played tons of shows together. But if you see this, let's do it. Let's send the loop back and forth. Let's start something. I don't know. The offer's on the table, but yeah, we'd love that. Best advice for someone just starting to make music in Ableton. Just do it tons. Just go. Like, don't stop, ever. Yeah, like I just, don't be afraid to make mistakes and just go. And just explore the program because it has so much to offer. I know that's horrible advice. If I was the person asking that question, I'd be like, that didn't really answer anything. But it's really true. It's the kind of thing that once you start getting into it, you discover your own way of making stuff, which is going to be completely different than what I'm doing here. And you know what? That's totally awesome and cool. You can make the music the way that you want to. And I think that's what's awesome about Ableton. It allows for so many different workflows. I want to go back just to our groove for a second, because then I'm going to actually extend this, and I'm going to show some minor arrangement stuff that you can do to create some dynamics. So let's get rid of our piano that we have and this lead line, because we don't need that right now. All right, let's see. once you're at this point, you can like kind of start to like drag stuff, you know, and just think about like what, like, oh, this sounds like a cool, like it could be the intro, or even strip it back further. Like once you assemble parts, like what I like to do is I like to kind of drag each section. Like, so obviously this is the section that has everything in it. So that section has like tons of stuff, and then also make it move over here something with less stuff. So you can like, that could become a verse. This could be a chorus. This could be somewhere in the middle. And so all of a sudden, like, a song becomes manageable in sort of these bite-sized pieces. It's like, you don't have to be so afraid of this overwhelming task of, what do I do? I have this loop that's just this loop, and I don't know how to break out of that cycle. It's really nice to, like I said, if you just stack stuff and stack stuff and stack stuff, maybe you have way too much stuff at the end of the day. But then you can start to drag certain sections off, or drag just the kick and the bass, and you can start to all of a sudden find cool parts that end up becoming a track. All right, let's see what some people are asking. Do you ever, in session view, I'd say we rarely work in session view. We do our live shows, like our Ableton live performances, in session view, because for launching clips, it's awesome. But I like to work in arrangement view because it's just how my mind works. There's nothing wrong with session view. You can totally go and use session view as much as you want. And if I've seen people make amazing music in session view, it's just personally not how I work. I like to work in arrangement view. Seeing it like this makes sense to me. All right, so now let's get into some nitty-gritty tricks, which is cool. There's this great plugin by this company called XLN Audio called the RC20 Retro Color. This thing's great. Like, sometimes you can just put it on a whole mix. It's probably going to sound really weird, but you can hear, I don't know if you can hear that fuzz. It automatically adds sort of this vinyl fuzz and this warmth and tone. I mean, you can easily overdo it with this thing, and you'll see what I mean. It adds that instant lo-fi grittiness, but it can give character to something that maybe is a bit stale, or like if you have a very digital sound. Like, it's really important for us to blend analog and digital elements together. All right, so that's with it. You can hear. And then without it, it's like, it's cleaner. So I think maybe like this, the version that I put this on is maybe a bit overdone, but it adds, if you do it right and you use it right and you use it on certain elements, you can get such a nice texture to your music that you wouldn't it's like instant vibe creator. If you're just getting into production and you want to make kind of, sort of housey, deep house, and or music that's a little bit more lo-fi sounding, you can't live without this thing. I mean, it's not. We've only been using it for like the last maybe year or so, but it's just so awesome. All right, so that's all cool. Let's try and come up with like an angry, or not angry, but like a grooving or super cool bass line that's just gonna like pop off. All right, that is when, for bass lines, I gotta be honest, plugins are great, but it's really nice to get into analog gear world. This, we put this on our Instagram stories. This is the Micro Korg by Korg. Sorry, not the Micro Korg. What am I talking about? This is the Minilog by Korg. This thing's like $400 and is the best bang for your buck synth you can possibly get. It like, it does everything: lead lines, pads, basses. This thing rocks. If you're looking to get into analog gear, I would highly recommend you starting here. For analog gear, the price point's pretty low, and it just sounds awesome. So let's see if this thing can give us a bass line. But I think by showing it to you like that, I might have ripped the power out. So. Yep, sadly that power cable is a casualty of the monster of cables behind the desk, so there might be another time. Sorry, but buddy. But the good news is we got lots of great plugins to use. So I'm going to go back to our good friends at Arturi again, and grab this. They made a really good version of the Mini Moog right here, which sounds awesome. And for example, on Enough to Believe, we use this as the bass. So let's get that going. All right. We didn't use the retro color on Writing on the Wall. That was just, man, it's been so long since we made that track. I mean, we would have just done something similar like this. Like we've always found ways to get that retro sound or like that distorted sound. I would say now it's just easier than ever because you have the retro color. I feel like we had to work 10 times harder in the past to achieve the same effect with now you can just do it with a plugin. And of course, if we're not happy with the sound we get from the plugin, then we'll work super hard to get it the way that we want it. But the retro color has just made life a lot easier to get that Writing on the Wall smoky sound that we really like. All right, so this bass, this thing's a beast. Got a bit too, it's not quite right. The great thing is that this plugin has so many awesome things. That's kind of cool. All right, let's see. So this is like, I mean, I'm glad I'm doing it like this because this is honestly what it's like. Like I come in here every day and I do this exact same thing I'm showing you. Just sit here, fiddle away, hopefully something good comes up. Some days are better than others. Oh, that's cool. All right. Let's lay that down. Sick. All right. I actually even made a mistake there. That sounds kind of cool. All right, let's see what that would sound like with everything out. Settings right, because otherwise it's going to give me a hard time. Let's try that. All right, yeah, that's cool. So, why did I put 2 compressors on there? So now I've got this side chained to the kick as well. Once you get this, you can start to hear that like that could easily become a grade. Let's also try one an octave below, see what that sounds like. Ooh, that's kind of mean. I like it when stuff's mean in like a fun way. All right, I'm gonna show you guys another cool plugin. This one is by Native Instruments, and like Native Instruments, I mean, again, another company that I would have difficulty living without. I would have to say like Native Instruments and Arturia alone, if you had those, if you bought the bundles, like I think Native Instruments is called Complete and the Arturia is called the V Collection. If you got those bundles, I mean, you're pretty sorted for synths. You really don't need to, like if you're just starting out, like that is, you're covered. They have everything that you could possibly want. They got tons of great distortion, great effects. If like I haven't even begun to scratch the surface, you know, I think I've been using Native Instruments plugins for like 15 years, and I don't even think I've touched like 1/10 of what the plugins do, which is kind of sad, but because people do put a lot of time and energy into into working on them. But I would highly recommend Native Instruments. Highly recommend Arturia. You'll be super happy with the stuff that you get, and yeah, I love them. All right, so this driver. Great for bass, great for distortion. It's a little crazy. You'll see what I mean. It might not be right. It's a little insane. But you can find really cool stuff that you would never be able to do without it. Like it took that bass, it took this, and turns it into this. I mean, love it or hate it, I just love plugins that actually do something when you put them on, you know? Yeah, somebody's asking about Sound Toys Decapitator. I love that thing too, it's great. It's awesome. I mean, I would use that too. Driver's great, Sound Toys is great. Do you ever start songs with bass lines? Yes, Heaven Only Knows started with a bass line. It started with that. All right, let me get this thing off. And also, I noticed a couple of people notice that I'm making some mistakes. Yes, I'm probably making some mistakes. I'm doing this quick. I'm not used to doing it for a stream and have people watching me. So if you see something, I apologize. Bear with me. So yeah, it literally started with the. I was like, oh, that sounds kind of cool. And then and then, you know, put a kick drum on it and all that sort of stuff, and then wrote the piano chords and all that. So, sometimes, I mean, like I will literally, Tom and I will both grab onto any little bit of inspiration that we could possibly get, whether it's a bass line, whether it's a guitar thing, whether it's a vocal melody, anything that's like, oh man, that sounds kind of cool. We'll try and, we'll really try and like hone in on it. That's what you're talking about. Sidechain was off. See what I did there. All right. Somebody brought up Sound Toys. I want to show you another plugin, Decapitator. This is also great for bass lines. Thank you for bringing this up. This thing is nasty. You can also just like cause a lot of your bass in the mix to like kind of pop out and be kind of awesome. So Yeah, I mean, so that's like the gist of how we get started, and then we'll start to dissect things from there. Write a vocal melody on top. Try and see how much, like, a really good idea is if you have a loop like this, try and see how far you can stretch an idea. Like, see how many like layers of chords, layers of loops, layers of anything. Like, a lot of times we'll even like I'll this is the part that's really time intensive, but like go in and replace all the individual samples and try all these different grooves. But this is a great way to get started. Like, pretty quickly you can get something that you're oh, this sounds legit, sounds cool, we'll see where it goes. Somebody's asking if we normally get our kicks from sample packs or record them. I mean, we get our kicks, like, man, I want to see, maybe I could open, like, we'll oftentimes layer like 5 or 6 kicks. Like, I know that's not normal, but we'll do that. Like, we'll record me kicking a wall, and then put that on. For example, like if I go into samples, Bob Moses samples, like these are like there's the old I Want kick. So this is one that like it's just that. We just took that from somewhere, and then added some stuff to it. This is Before I Fall. I'm going to kill this RC20 for a sec because it's just making all this fuzz. Oh, here's Talking of Nicholas Jarre. I tried to copy a kick. I forget how we made this, but like he had a really good kick drum in some track, and I was like, man, I wish we had a kick drum like that. So I spent hours trying to make it. Which of the Ableton stock instruments do you use most, if at all? To be honest, I don't really use a lot of the Ableton stock instruments. I find that they sound very digital and they don't really have the tonal quality that I'm looking for. That doesn't mean that they're not good, but it's just something that it doesn't really work. It doesn't really vibe with me. They sound a little cheap. But Ableton, like I use their compressors, I use their EQs, I use lots of stuff. Look, I'm using their multiband. I love Ableton for pretty much almost anything. All right, let's just keep going. I'm just gonna keep going, and I'm gonna start over here and grab like another kick and see what else happens, because that's like, you never know what's gonna happen. So like even over here. Like, that's a cool kick. So we'll just drag this over here. Cool. So Ableton adds these fades sometimes. I'm sure there's a way to get rid of it, but. All right, so see, look, I'm just starting a kick on a track. Like, I'm really reckless when it comes to when I just want to get an idea out of my head. I don't care about how it gets there. You can always come back and fix it later. Ooh, that's mean. Cool. Let's try this. Yeah, that's not quite. All right. I'm not the best with shortcuts either. Like, some people do stuff really fast. I have my way of doing it. I'm happy with it. Doesn't bother me. Sure, I could maybe learn a couple shortcuts here and there, but I know enough shortcuts. I know some people that know all the shortcuts, but then get stuck on music. So it's like, it's just like there's no one way to do this. So hopefully you're learning something. All right. Ooh, what was that? Oh, that's nice. So this is what I mean. It's like important to have good ingredients. Like, if you have a lot of samples, if you have a lot of packs, you can easily get ideas out super quick. And and then we've gone in and done stuff and then layered a drum kit over top to give it a feel that like, a sample can't give you. So what I'm doing is like the very early stages of our music making process, or one of the ways that we make music, which is just like try and get something cool coming out of the speakers as fast as possible. And make little demos, because then you can come back and always try and fix it. Let me see something else that I have here. So like if you go like an easy way to get something to sound instantly recognizable, like if you do something a lot. These are all like our claps that we use all the time. Here, tearing me up. I remember recording these. I like put a mic on the ground and recorded like. You can hear in the background, there's like, I recorded it through the speakers and then like me stomping on the ground and clapping at the same time, and it then going through the speakers. Like I was playing a snare drum through the speaker and then just recorded it with a mic. So like that's what I mean. It's like, you can start to get creative with some of the stuff that you do. And if you look at this waveform, you can see that it's not perfect. It's like a clap hits and then a snare, and when things aren't perfect, that's when it starts to sound like a human being as opposed to a machine. So yeah, like let's just steal those from tearing me up. No one, hopefully Bob doesn't sue us. And it's just about like placing them in the right spot, to get it so that it hits in a way that you like it. Yeah, that's cool. And it's nice to have claps all be like kind of different, Like it's like if they're not all the same, if every clap sounds the same, it starts to get a bit stagnant and starts to sound very digital and very robotic. So I think if you like have one that's like, and then another, make it a little bit different. It'll create an energy to your music that maybe wasn't there before. Yeah, and we'll chop stuff up like this. All right, that's going out of time, so let's fix that. Tearing me up doesn't want to be my friend today. That's why. Man, I really wish I didn't accidentally unplug this. Let me see if I can, bear with me 1 second. Let me see if I can find this plug, because this synth rocks, and I feel like I would be doing y'all a disservice. Sadly, we don't ever use Max for live. We should. I know it does crazy stuff, but I feel like we have enough sort of plugins and stuff to dive into and learn before we get into that crazy stuff. And someone's asking, do we ever tune our kicks? Yes, all the time. We tune our kicks. You can start to notice that it'll like that's what I mean. It's like get the idea down and then go in and fix that sort of stuff. We tune our kicks all the time. It's really important. I remember, I think it was for Eye for an Eye on the last record that like, I think I spent like a whole day, maybe 8-10 hours tuning kicks. I'm not kidding, just because it was not gelling right. I had to like move the bass and the kick, get the tuners out and make sure that they were sitting, because it was clashing, and that can happen. And it's something that a lot of people don't notice. you don't notice it when it's right, but when it's wrong, it sounds awful. And so I spent like the whole day doing that, and you know what? It ended up being worth it, and it sounds way better. So yes, tune your kicks. You don't always have to do it, but if you notice it sounding bad in your low end, check that out. Make sure your kick and your bass are in the same frequency. Yeah, I honestly have no idea where that cable went. It's insane. Oh well, let's press on. Yeah, again, sorry. I went to show it to you, and it ended up just wrecking the whole experience. Okay, let's try with another bass line. Oh yeah, Herman Miller chairs are great. Sweet. Yeah, we use drum racks sometimes. Somebody's asking if we use drum racks. Yes, totally. We use drum racks. Like, we do a lot of stuff. I'm just doing it like one way. Just because this can get results quick, you know. And I'm both Tom and I are kind of like melody and chords. We love melody and chords, which is why I want to bring the piano out again, which I have to put over here. So I'll show you. We use this piano, or these pianos, I should say, on basically everything. And then sometimes we'll go in and record a real piano and overdub them, but a lot of the times the piano's on our records. What? Are you crazy? What? What's going on? Why is it giving me that message? Oh, okay. That's annoying. Oh, it's there. Oh, but my MIDI keyboards now. Of course. Every other day of the week, everything works fine, and then you do this, and stuff goes crazy. All right, this thing's not behaving, so I'm actually gonna have to go back and find this Korg keyboard thing. Hang on. Hello. Okay, sorry. I unplugged my Mac and it got super mad at me. Studio ghosts. But the good news is we got this thing. We found the power cable. Hooray. See, this is all part of it with analog gear. It's like it messes with you, it doesn't work, it does something. All right. And we're back and things work. Hooray. Sorry about that. Okay. So now I want to show you this synth because it's awesome. And I'll show you why it's awesome. Because it sounds great. Let's see where this is coming in. It's not behaving. And nothing's behaving for me today. This is hilarious. All right, let me try this. That should hopefully do it. Yeah, there we go. I think I see it. Why? I'm cursed. I'm leaving it to the fact that I have cursed this synth. This is so funny. Oh well. Don't take engineering lessons from me. Okay. Yeah, exactly. He's being bad. These things work and sound great. I apologize to Chlor because I'm not doing this thing justice. It usually works fine. It does work totally fine. It's just that I've done something on my end to anger it. And what that is, I'm not entirely sure. But I have angered. I've angered it. Oh, you can hear it. It's just not playing. Hang on. Let's see. He might have just had a little moment. I did do everything right. It was just doing something silly. Things being silly is sort of part of it. Okay, so the keyboard doesn't want to work, which is very interesting. And I don't know what I did, but I probably hit something stupid. As I unplugged it when I probably shouldn't have or something. Oh well, we can figure that out later. Yeah. We like to do this whole like major minor thing all the time. It's very Nine Inch Nails, people asking us about our influences. It's really fun to play around with that stuff. This piano we use a lot, the Maverick. It's Native Instruments. Great piano. That's already a chord progression like that. You could write tons of cool stuff over that. And this is around the time, like if we have a chord progression like that, like Tom will just start singing, and then I'll go, hey dude, what was that? And then he'll be like, what was what? And I'll be like, oh, that thing that you did there, and like I'll sing it back to him really badly, and then we just start playing sort of tennis. And then we have this groove going, and we're like, oh, that'd be cool, and we just start, immediately when you start singing, it like starts to hear like, oh, that's a verse or that's a chorus. All right, I'm gonna answer some questions. Have I tried turning it on and off again? I never do that. I just yell at it angrily. I would also love to work with Trent. But yeah, I mean, I just wanted to show you guys quickly the gist of sort of what we do. And I had, yes, there was a couple things that weren't behaving, but for the most part, I feel like it was pretty, you know. If you didn't know something before coming into this, hopefully you learned something. And that's like, yeah, this is basically how we start. That's what we do. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. I definitely learned a lot by doing this for the first time. And if we do, let us know if this is something you'd be interested in seeing again. I can show you a different part of our process. I can have my stuff working a little better, hopefully. And I mean, we just sort of built the studio, so we're still ironing out the kinks. But yeah, let us know if this is something you're into. It was fun doing it, and I hope that you guys are all staying safe, happy, and healthy. You guys had a lot of good questions. Surprisingly, a lot more tech stuff than I thought. Yeah, I think, watch us tomorrow during the Beatport live stream at 2 p.m. And I'd love to do this again. I think doing it once, I've learned a lot about like what I would want to do or what I want to show people. So thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next week on the BobCast. Who knows what we're going to do next?